Hello?
Hello, I'm looking to speak to a Sabrina.
Yeah, speaking.
My name is Inspector Chris Gallagher. I'm phoning on behalf of the Niagara Parks Police Service. I have a message here in front of me that you would like to speak to me in regards to conduct of one of my officers.
Yes, that's correct, Inspector. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the situation. Have you been read in on as to what happened?
I have an understanding of what's happened. I don't have the incident report here in front of me, but
Okay.
I do have an understanding of it, yes.
Yeah. I'm not looking to necessarily file a complaint. I don't think the actions of Officer Rob, I don't have his last name, rise to the requiring a complaint. The only question that I really have though is during my interaction with Officer Rob, I did notice that he was wearing a Canadian flag that had like a blue stripe across it, and I'm not really sure what that means. I had questions about what that is, and is that like a normal thing for officers to wear?
Okay, so just one more time, Sabrina. So the purpose for your call is to find out, is not to lay a complaint. It's in regards to the officer that you dealt with. You're saying he was wearing did you say it was a button?
No, it was it looked like name tape. That's what it's called in the military. I don't know what necessarily police.
I know Officer Rittner. His name's Rob Rittner.
Okay.
That's who the officer is that you dealt with. I know he was a serving military member.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, and I apologize again. And how did you refer to it as again?
So it was a black and gray or black and white flag, Canadian, with a blue stripe across it on his uniform.
Okay.
Yeah. So
No, I haven't seen it. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. No.
I
Fair enough.
it.
Yeah. No. I
So
understand.
I'll have to look into it and find out exactly what it means. Now, I know that in the past we've done stuff for leading up to Police Memorial, which is the beginning of May,
Mm-hmm.
in which a reflection for fallen officers in the province of Ontario.
Okay.
So they do the Ontario Police Memorial. It's usually traditionally, and don't hold me to this, but it's the first week of May. It's usually May 3rd. So I know that obviously because of COVID, there's going to be no in-person memorial,
Sure.
so to speak. So I know that they're doing representation by having members wear certain things that have been approved by the police service and been approved through the province.
Okay.
They can wear them. I'm guessing that may be it, but I don't know with certainty. I'll have to look into it a little bit more.
I would appreciate that if you
He's off now for the next couple of days.
Okay. Yeah. No. Fair. Yeah.
So he's not due back for another 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So I'm not going to bother him during his days.
No, for sure. Yeah, when he's
but
back in on his rotation.
yeah, I can find that out for you.
Yeah. Now the interaction that took place was on April the 8th. Probably mid-afternoon. I'm not exactly sure what time. At the Whirlpool Bridge.
Okay. Yeah, I remember reading the report. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it there, and reading it over. But I'd have to take a look at it again. And again, I just want to be clear. So what you're telling me right now, you're not here to talk about that interaction more explicitly what he was wearing that day, because you're not.
Well, I did have questions about the interaction. I did also have questions in terms of why it did take 2 weeks or so to get a call back. Not necessarily from you, because I didn't specifically ask.
Typically, I handle any of the public complaints. We're small police service. There's only 21 of us.
Okay.
I was off last week, so I've been off.
Oh, that's probably why then. Okay.
Leading up to it so that would have been actually altogether it would have been 12 days.
Okay.
Right? Because I would have been off all that week and then leading up to it. So I apologize. I'm usually very, very good.
Well, if you're off, you're off. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm usually very good at getting back. If it's something that's more important, obviously there's a chief of police here that would handle it, and I don't know that would have gotten to him at that level, especially if you, like it said when you called, if you didn't say I'm calling to complain about an officer or anything like that. Typically, whoever the supervisor is on the road, they would probably take the complaint and then make the management team aware of it.
Sure, yeah. So the reason why I'm not looking
this was the first notification, Sabrina, that I received.
Okay, yeah.
That you had called.
The reason why I don't necessarily have the biggest faith in, I guess I would file a complaint through the OIPRD. I don't know how it works with.
We don't fall under the OIPRD.
Oh, okay. So
we're special constables for the province of Ontario.
Oh, okay.
So any public complaints would come through us,
your agency. Okay.
And then if they were of a serious nature, they would be investigated by.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. By no means would I classify my interaction with him as a serious, encounter. There was obviously no contact. I wasn't physically detained at any point. But I don't know what level of detail the report that you've read had. But in terms of the only issue that I had was that when I was dealing with Officer Rob. Officer Rob approached me quite cordially, I'm sure, in line with training and his experience.
Yep.
I made an effort to not engage him because I wasn't the one that made contact. I presume it was Niagara Falls Bridge Commission that called, or CBSA that called.
Okay.
So I would have presumed that he would have gone to the complainant first, seeing that there was no real serious threat. Like I wasn't trying to... I wasn't acting out disorderly, so there was no real sense of urgency to approach me first. So I thought that, if I didn't engage with him and my purpose was not to engage with him, that he would have gone to CBSA or the Bridge Commission person that probably was the one that called in. He informed me that he believed where I was standing, which was right in front of 4422 River Road, that CBSA/Whirlpool Bridge entrance exit.
Right.
He believed that it was either federal property or city property. I'm not going to fault him for not knowing. It's impossible to know all of that information. But when I informed him that I believed that it was either city property or federal property, and that because of that I had the right to be there, he shifted the goalpost a little bit and said, well, it's likely that if it is city property or private property or federal property, you're not allowed to be there. That's where I have a little bit of a concern, because if it's private property, I don't have a right to be there unless I'm invited or there's a implied right of access.
I would agree with you.
But I stated to him that I believe that the CBSA is either the owner or lessee of this property, which negates it being private property. And then he said, well, he's just going to wait until Niagara Falls Bridge Commission returns, because that person that filed the complaint had left. He was going to wait for them to return so he can get some clarification, which I believe to be in line with training and very reasonable. Because if you don't know, you need to hear from all sides. Don't take my word for it, because he doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know my background. Well, and then I indicated to him flippantly, I guess not in the most polite way, that, well, you're just going to take the word of some random Bridge Commission employee who may or may not be informed. And he said, no, I'm not going to just take their word for it. I'm going to, measure this out, which sounded reasonable to me at the time. But as soon as the Bridge Commission person said, he said, no, this is absolutely our property. And again, I was standing right in front of the 4422. I don't know what building to call it, so I'll just see the CBSA building. I was standing right in front of them on the sidewalk, actually in between the road and the sidewalk. So whatever you'd call that, it's, paved boulevard. It's not where road traffic.
Like a median?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't the median, because there is actually specifically a median there.
Okay.
I was, it's part of the sidewalk. It's like an extension of the sidewalk, but it wasn't actually on the sidewalk. So if someone needed to walk past, I wasn't obstructing them. That's where I was standing. And he indicated that that's private property, and I actually do have a degree in law, and I had researched. I understood that road and that sidewalk are property of the Parks Commission. I indicated that, I don't know, half a dozen times throughout the 45-minute long encounter, 30-minute long encounter. Neither the Bridge Commission, CBSA, or Officer Rob, and I apologize, I've already forgotten his last name, but I'll just refer to him as Officer Rob.
Okay.
Your officer had indicated that I'm not welcome there and that I should leave. And I wasn't going to leave until both the Bridge Commission, CBSA, and your officer threatened to tow my vehicle, which was lawfully parked in the CBSA slot in one of the parking spots just adjacent to the building.
Okay.
So I removed my vehicle and parked it on Niagara Falls City parking lot and or street parking. Returned to the location. Now, fortunately, Officer Rob, he stayed on station for a little while, and his partner left somewhere. They disengaged from me from that point, but I'm just concerned that there is still confusion about who is allowed to be on that sidewalk going forward. So I know Officer Rob, I don't know if it was his partner or him or somebody from CBSA, but they were able to eventually identify me because I am somewhat of a known person. I have a little bit of infamy to who I am. So they were able to identify me pretty quickly. So I know that if I return to that scene, no one is going to approach me because they're afraid that they're going to end up with 500,000 views on YouTube or Facebook. So I know that I don't have to face this issue in the future, but where I am concerned is that if Jane or John Doe return to that same location, they're filming for whatever reason that the Bridge Commission will contact you guys again, and that same officer or a different officer being confused as to who owns that property and what access they might have to that property might be trespassed or charged with mischief, something along those lines.
Okay. So, again, I'll have to look at. I can't give you answers.
I know. Yeah, I'm sandbagging you effectively, so I understand that.
I understand. I get what your point is. I'll have to take a look. I know, as I recall in the report, that there was a follow-up with the Bridge Commission to determine property lines. Mm-hmm. And I want to say, as I recall it, but please don't hold me to this, because, again, I'll have to review it and take a look at it myself, because I want to have a knowledge base for you, that it was determined that the property was that of the Bridge Commission.
Sure. So,
and again, please don't hold me to it.
I understand. Yeah. So you probably just quickly skimmed it. So,
right.
I've actually done my due diligence.
Okay.
I've reached out to the Parks Commission, the City of Niagara Falls,
okay.
CBSA, and the Province of Ontario, and I was able to determine who owns what quite precisely. So Niagara Falls Viewer, I don't know if you've ever used this or not, but the City of Niagara Falls has something called the Niagara Falls Viewer.
Okay.
And you can look up the property lines and ownership of every property within the Niagara Falls city limits.
Okay.
Now, they won't obviously tell you who owns the property. That would violate people's privacy, but they do show you boundaries and borders. Okay. And 4422 is earmarked. It shows you the property lines. And effectively, and don't take my word for this, I encourage you to look it up with Niagara Falls Viewer.
Okay.
But their property, it's really just the actual physical structure in of itself. That little road, the whirlpool, when you're trying to cross in the United States, you go into that little side street kind of thing.
Yeah, that
pulls in. I don't know what that would be called, but even that isn't part of either the Bridge Commission's property.
I guess it's probably some of it is owned by the Niagara Parks Commission.
It is, yeah. So the Parks Commission have basically granted access to the Bridge Commission and CBSA to use for their purposes. Now, I accept to walk around the Bridge Commission staff and your officer, except for to walk around them. I actually never entered that particular area. I never was interested. There is a no, I wouldn't want to call it a no trespassing sign, but it's like a no persons sign, basically indicating no one should go there, even though obviously tourists always go there to take photos. There's a sign that marks saying no person. So I'm not going to go where there's clearly marked no entry, no person, no trespassing area. So my intention was never to go into a secured area, to go inside the building. I was always positioned on the sidewalk specifically owned by the Parks Commission. So you probably know this. The 56-kilometer stretch of road and sidewalk, river facing, is owned by the Parks Commission.
Right.
I never left that area. Now, the only part that I could maybe take some culpability in is the beginning of the encounter, which preceded your officer's arrival. I was in the median under the bridge in between the two lanes of traffic. Right. You know that area that I'm talking about? Yeah. Yep. So I started filming there. And that's where the CBSA and the Bridge Commission first engaged or started contact with me. I felt it was safe to be there because it was unlikely a car would be able to hit me, as there were two giant concrete slabs protecting me on either side. And, obviously that was built for vehicles making a left-hand turn, but that particular lane of traffic was blocked off. It's been blocked off since COVID started to control traffic. Yep. So I knew I wasn't blocking traffic, and I knew I wasn't even visible to traffic in either direction because there were two concrete columns on either side of me. So I knew I wasn't a visual distraction, and I knew I wasn't a physical distraction or obstruction. Now, eventually I did move from there because that I wasn't so sure about ownership over, but I knew it was likely not safe. So I moved from there. But every time Officer Rob, or from the time Officer Rob engaged with me, I was always on the river-facing side of a river road. And in an area where I'm lawfully allowed to be. Now, I know if you're, committing some sort of disorderly conduct, you can be removed from, that's obvious. But my only concern is that wasn't the case. Loitering, mischief, section 181 and 431, 430 sub 1 and 180 sub 1 of the criminal code. They're really explicit in terms of what it takes to be accused of loitering and mischief. And, I don't think anyone could make the case that I was committing either. I certainly wasn't committing disco 180 and trespass to property, Ontario RSO 1990. Yep.
Activity, or it's directed.
Exactly, right? Oh. And CBSA, even though they might not be an owner of that building, because they're a lessee and they're a government organization, I would have access to it. That's paragraph 2 of the Trespass to Property Act. So, so I know the boundaries of where I'm and what I'm allowed to do. I've had extensive conversations with the Parks Commission about what is needed to film on their property. So my only concern, again, is I'm not worried for myself, because I'm strong enough to stand up for myself when I'm approached by Bridge Commission people or by Parks Commission people. But I'm just worried about the next person who is in the similar situation, who might be filming in and around property.
I hope you can understand it's a case-by-case basis.
Oh, of course.
Depending what's happening. But
right.
I'm just speaking, I have been here for quite some time, and I don't recall this kind of interaction from anybody in the last number of years.
Yeah, so I tend to be groundbreaking.
No, and I don't mean that to try.
No. I understand.
To challenge you. I'm just saying that.
For sure.
I think, like you said, I think the most important thing is to try and educate ourselves and try and get a better idea of exactly what we're talking about here, rather than try and spew off things that, that I would know about. I don't know with 100% certainty. I have to figure out exactly where you were standing, what you were doing, who has privilege to that property, whether there is anything that applies under the TTPA in which you can ask someone to leave that premise. Even though the Niagara Parks Commission is a public entity, it is still private property. It is owned by the Niagara Parks Commission.
I understand, yeah. So and if I was, I'll just take another example that I think is relatively, if I was at like Laura Secord's estate, right, and they have that little white picket fence around it. If I hop that fence, I can't say, well, this is Parks Commission property, it's public property, I'm allowed to be there. Obviously, I'm going beyond what would a reasonable person would do, right?
And I don't know, you probably know this maybe even better than me because you've probably done your research. Is there anything federally that doesn't allow for permitting of filming an international border?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I have looked into this. So the Supreme Court hasn't ruled explicitly, other than they have established that, the border is a constitution-free zone. So you don't necessarily have the same rights that you would if you were in Niagara Falls City proper versus, going through the booth or inside the building at one of the CBSA checkpoints. Now, when you are you can't trespass the eyes, for example. So recently, just the other day, I was filming the Rainbow Bridge for a different story. And so do you know where like the Hershey's parking lot, not Hershey's, but like the Hard Rock or whatever, that Planet Hollywood, whatever that closed building used to be. So I was standing there on a sidewalk where I'm allowed to be, filming the rainbow. They couldn't approach me and say stop filming because the eyes cannot trespass. And there are no statutes that limit photography of any type of federal building. Now, that being said, if I went into the Rainbow Bridge, the CBSA, customs, that is restricted. But I couldn't be stopped if I was in a place that I'm lawfully allowed to be. So yeah, I try to research. I'm a photojournalist. I've been doing this for about 20 years or so. And I do have a degree in law, so it's something that I'm always looking to make sure. I'm not there to create issues for the CBSA, for your officer, or for the Bridge Commission. I do get slightly indignant when I'm pushed and told to do something that I know I'm allowed to. That's probably a personal character trait that I like to change, but it's just my way of dealing with the situation on the 8th of April. Now, again, I completely agree. It has to be a case-by-case basis. But my only call to action, or my only suggestion, is that you do look into the ownership. Again, don't take my word for it. But take a look at the ownership. Maybe reach out to the Parks Commission people, Niagara Parks, rather.
Yeah, and that has been done.
Oh, okay. And the other thing is to... I invite you to take a look at my video. It's not edited at all. The only cuts in the video are between encounters. So, there was a there was a break between when CBSA first approached me, and then nothing happened. So there's a cut there. And then between the Bridge Commission people and then your officer. So the encounters haven't been cut. They haven't been selectively edited to show my strengths and their weaknesses. It's raw footage that I output. I'm sure that you'll find things that I said and did that were not in your taste, but I'm sure that you won't find anything that I've done that was unlawful. And
Well, if
and
there wouldn't have been somebody, you would have been charged.
yeah, exactly, yeah, or at least there would be, you know, an information written up by now, right?
Yeah.
Someone would have written up an information by now because it's been 20 days. But yeah, you'll see that, like, you know, again, maybe my choice of language wasn't great, but I tried to clearly and effectively communicate that where I was allowed to be. And you can even hear the CBSA near the end of the encounter, in the middle and in the end of the encounter, say, you know, again, I was 20, 30 feet away, but the mic can just barely pick it up. You'll hear the CBSA people go, I actually don't even have a problem with where she is. She's probably allowed to be there.
Right.
The only people that seemed to really have an issue was the Bridge Commission people. And I think it's just that person. He never identified himself, so I don't know his name. But it seems like that person who was driving the red truck for the Bridge Commission seemed to take a real issue. And it's only been him because I've had many encounters when I'm filming with the Bridge Commission people. Just the other day, I was filming Queenston Lewiston, and two Bridge Commission people in two different trucks drove by. They stopped. They actually waved and said, hey, and then they kept driving.
Right.
So it seems to be there's just that one person that took issue. And then Officer Rob, I think, didn't have the tools that he needed at his disposal. So that's why I'm asking that after you guys verify what you need to verify, if you can send out memos or however you communicate to your frontline officers that this is actual private property, and this is a gray zone, and this is you know, a white zone where people are allowed to be filming and whatnot, absent a criminal offense, obviously. Like if someone's doing something like disco, right? If they're
let me look into it and let me find out a little bit more. I'll follow up on the black and gray Canadian flag.
Thank you. I
I'll
appreciate
find out exactly about that, and I will be back in touch with you.
The-
I'm not trying to push you along. It's just that
No,
I have
yeah,
another
you need
I
to.
have another online meeting that I'm going to be entering in like 5 minutes, so I'm trying to get prepped for that.
Yeah. So if you Google your agency, or on Facebook, if you search, I'm sure you'll find the video. It's got 60,000-70,000 views by now. So it'll be
I don't have any social media myself.
Oh, okay. I think it might be on Facebook or YouTube.
I'm sure that I'll be able to access it here, though.
Sure, yeah, and I'm sure I already know some people have reached out to me. They know that it's being passed around your agency, so I know it exists.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your
your
this
time
conversation.
and your understanding.
Yeah, thank you, and feel free to contact me if you have any further questions or follow up.
Okay. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.